The world watched in horror as the shadow of war descended upon Europe once more. It was 1939, and the Nazi war machine under the iron fist of Adolf Hitler had set its sights on expansion. The invasion of Poland marked the beginning of World War II. The world braced itself for a conflict of unprecedented scale and brutality. Alliances shifted, and nations prepared for the inevitable storm. The Soviet Union, under Joseph Stalin, found itself in a precarious position. Initially signing a non-aggression pact with Germany, the Soviets knew that war was only a matter of time. The Nazi ideology viewed the Soviet Union as prime territory for conquest. Hitler sought to crush communism and enslave the Slavic people. In June 1941, Hitler unleashed Operation Barbarossa, invading the Soviet Union. The German army stormed across the border, catching the Soviets off guard. The initial onslaught was devastating. Soviet forces suffered heavy casualties and lost vast swaths of territory. Cities and towns were reduced to rubble, and millions of civilians were caught in the crossfire. The speed and ferocity of the German attack took many by surprise. The road to Moscow lay open, and the fate of the nation hung in the balance. Amidst this chaos, Leningrad would soon find itself at the heart of a struggle for survival, known as the Siege of Leningrad. Leningrad, formerly known as St. Petersburg, held immense strategic and symbolic value. Founded by Tsar Peter the Great in 1703, it was the Russian capital for over 2 centuries. The city was a vibrant hub of culture, art, and learning. Its architectural grandeur made it a source of immense pride for the Russian people. For Hitler, capturing Leningrad was a symbolic victory to cripple Soviet morale. The city's significance as the cradle of the Russian Revolution made it an enticing target. Hitler believed capturing Leningrad would strike a blow against the Soviet spirit. Operation Nordlicht aimed to encircle Leningrad, cutting it off from the Soviet Union. The German Army Group North, led by Field Marshal von Lieb, spearheaded the assault. They advanced from the south, while Finnish allies attacked from the north. The strategy relied on speed and overwhelming force. They believed a swift blow would shatter Soviet defenses. The Luftwaffe bombarded the city, sowing terror and paving the way for the ground assault. The citizens of Leningrad prepared for war with apprehension and determination. The city's factories worked tirelessly to produce weapons for the front lines. Men and women volunteered for the people's militia, ready to defend their homes. They were about to face an ordeal unlike any other in human history. The siege of Leningrad, one of the longest and most destructive sieges, was about to begin. By late August 1941, the German army's advance had gained terrifying momentum. The Wehrmacht, driven by Hitler's ambition, swept across the Baltic region toward Leningrad. The city braced itself for the impending assault. The speed of the German advance left the Soviet defenders scrambling. As the panzers rumbled closer, the reality of the situation dawned on the citizens of Leningrad. On August 30, 1941, German forces reached Lake Ladoga, cutting off Leningrad's last supply route. The city, home to nearly 3 million souls, was now encircled. The siege of Leningrad had begun. As the siege tightened, Leningrad transformed into a desolate prison. Food, fuel, and medicine vanished entirely. The streets fell silent save for artillery fire and cries of the hungry. Winter brought new suffering. The Nazi blockade choked the life out of Leningrad. Food rations were slashed to a pittance. Desperation drove people to consume anything remotely edible. Starvation stalked the streets. The bitter cold compounded the suffering. Temperatures plummeted, freezing water pipes and plunging inhabitants into frigid darkness. Fuel for heating became scarce, forcing families to huddle together for warmth. The relentless cold claimed many lives, turning the city into a frozen wasteland. Yet, the spirit of Leningrad refused to be broken. The people found ingenious ways to survive. They organized communal kitchens, sharing the little food they had. They dismantled buildings for firewood, burning furniture and books to stay warm. Artists and musicians continued to perform, lifting spirits and reminding them that hope endured. The siege of Leningrad became a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. The world watched in awe and horror as the citizens of Leningrad waged a daily battle for survival. As the winter of 1941-42 tightened its icy grip on Leningrad, a lifeline emerged across the frozen surface of Lake Ladoga. This lifeline, known as the Road of Life, was a perilous ice highway. Trucks braved blizzards, enemy fire, and thin ice to transport supplies and evacuate civilians. Despite relentless attacks, the Road of Life symbolized hope for Leningrad. It saved an estimated 1 million lives, transporting vital supplies and evacuating civilians. The Road of Life remains a testament to human resilience and the will to survive. The winter of 1941-42 descended upon Leningrad with a brutality that mirrored the siege itself. Temperatures plummeted to record lows, turning the city into a frozen wasteland. Food supplies, already critically low, dwindled to almost nothing. The Road of Life, while a lifeline, struggled to meet the needs of the besieged population. This was the Hunger Winter, a period of unimaginable suffering etched into the city's collective memory. The meager rations, barely enough to sustain life, were distributed with strict equity. Factory workers deemed essential for the war effort received the largest share, a mere 125 grams of bread per day. Others, including children, the elderly, and the infirm, received even less. The bread itself, a dark and heavy concoction, contained sawdust and other substitutes, a testament to the desperate shortage. Starvation, a slow and agonizing tormentor, tightened its grip on Leningrad. People grew gaunt, their bodies wasting away from lack of nourishment. The streets, once bustling with life, were now haunted by skeletal figures, their faces hollow, their eyes reflecting unimaginable suffering. The city's hospitals, overwhelmed with the starving and the sick, became grim waiting rooms for death. Desperation drove people to extremes. Rumors spread of cannibalism, a chilling testament to the depths of human depravity born of unimaginable hunger. People consumed anything remotely edible. Wallpaper paste, leather belts, even the carcasses of rats and pigeons. The Hunger Winter stripped away all semblance of normalcy, reducing human existence to a primal struggle for survival. Even as starvation and death cast a long shadow over Leningrad, the city's spirit refused to be extinguished. Amidst the ruins and the suffering, the flame of culture flickered, a testament to the enduring power of the human spirit. Theaters, museums, and libraries, though battered and depleted, continued to function, offering a glimmer of hope and normalcy in a world turned upside down. The Hermitage Museum, home to priceless works of art, became a refuge for both treasures and people. Staff, risking their lives, evacuated thousands of paintings and sculptures to safety, preserving them for future generations. The museum's cellars, transformed into bomb shelters, provided sanctuary from the relentless German air raids. The Leningrad Philharmonic Orchestra, a symbol of the city's cultural vibrancy, continued to perform even as its members succumbed to starvation. Their most famous performance, Dmitri Shostakovich's Seventh Symphony, known as the Leningrad Symphony, became an anthem of defiance, a musical testament to the city's unyielding spirit. Writers, poets, and artists, fueled by a shared sense of purpose, continued to create, documenting the horrors of the siege and celebrating the resilience of the human spirit. Their works, smuggled out of the besieged city, served as a lifeline to the outside world, a testament to the enduring power of art in the face of adversity. On August 9, 1942, a hush fell over the besieged city of Leningrad. The sound of artillery fire ceased. In its place, music filled the air. Dmitri Shostakovich's Seventh Symphony, performed by the Leningrad Radio Orchestra. The concert, broadcast live, was a moment of defiance. The world listened in astonishment and admiration. The year 1942 dawned bleakly upon Leningrad. The Hunger Winter had exacted a horrific toll, leaving the city scarred and its people teetering on the brink of despair. Yet, even as they battled starvation and the bitter cold, the citizens of Leningrad faced another, more insidious enemy: espionage and internal sabotage. The Germans resorted to covert operations, seeking to undermine Leningrad's defenses from within. The NKVD waged a relentless campaign against suspected spies and collaborators. Fear and suspicion permeated every aspect of life in the besieged city. Rumors of saboteurs poisoning water supplies and spreading disinformation ran rampant. The ever-present threat of enemy infiltrators added another layer of complexity to the struggle for survival. The Germans, exploiting the desperation within the city, airdropped leaflets promising safe passage and food to those who surrendered. These attempts at psychological warfare preyed upon the vulnerability of those pushed to the edge of human endurance. The NKVD, vigilant in its pursuit of internal enemies, often acted with ruthless efficiency, arresting and executing suspected collaborators based on scant evidence. The siege within a siege, a battle fought in the shadows, exacted a heavy toll on Leningrad's psyche. It sowed seeds of mistrust and suspicion, pitting neighbor against neighbor. The constant fear of betrayal, real or imagined, eroded the fragile bonds of community that had sustained the city during the darkest days of the blockade. The NKVD's heavy-handed tactics, while perhaps understandable in the context of total war, often resulted in the persecution of innocent citizens. The pressure to root out spies and collaborators led to hasty judgments and summary executions, leaving a legacy of fear and resentment that would linger long after the siege was lifted. As 1942 wore on, the Red Army, bolstered by fresh troops and supplies from the east, began to mount counteroffensives against the German invaders. Leningrad, however, remained trapped within the tightening German noose. The city's defenders, though resolute, were desperately short of men and material. Hope, once a flickering flame, seemed to dwindle with each passing day. In January 1943, a glimmer of hope appeared on the horizon. Soviet forces, under the command of Generals Georgy Zhukov and Kliment Voroshilov, launched Operation Spark, a daring plan to break the siege of Leningrad. The operation, timed to coincide with a major Soviet offensive at Stalingrad, aimed to punch a hole through the German lines south of Lake Ladoga, re-establishing a land link to the besieged city. The battle raged for weeks. Soviet troops, fighting with ferocious determination, slowly pushed back the German defenders. The Germans, taken by surprise by the ferocity of the Soviet assault, fought tenaciously to hold on to their positions. Casualties on both sides were staggering, a testament to the brutal nature of the fighting. On January 18, 1943, after days of relentless combat, Soviet forces linked up with units from the Leningrad front, tearing a narrow corridor through the German encirclement. The lifeline, dubbed the Road of Victory, was just a few kilometers wide, but it represented a major symbolic and strategic victory for the Soviets. The Road of Victory, while a far cry from a fully fledged supply route, allowed for the flow of much-needed food, ammunition, and reinforcements into Leningrad. It also provided a means of evacuating sick and wounded civilians, offering a glimmer of hope to those who had endured unimaginable suffering. Section 3. The Tide Turns. The success of Operation Spark marked a turning point, but Leningrad remained under siege. The Germans launched counterattacks, but the tide had turned. The Red Army, emboldened by victory, fought with tenacity. Throughout 1943, they launched offensives, pushing back the Germans. The Germans, stretched thin, faced increasing pressure. The siege of Leningrad was slowly being broken. The city, once on the brink, was coming back to life. Section 1. Leningrad's Resolve. The year 1944 dawned with cautious optimism in Leningrad. The worst of the hunger winter was fading, replaced by hope of liberation. The Road of Victory brought supplies, rekindling the city's spirit. Leningrad, scarred but undefeated, continued to fight. Citizens, weakened but resolute, contributed to the war effort. Factories produced weapons for the front lines. Women worked tirelessly, assembling rifles and filling shells. Their faces showed hardship and determination. Children collected firewood and cleared rubble. The siege forced them to grow up quickly. The city's cultural life continued. Theaters offered a brief respite from hardships. Musicians played concerts in factories and bomb shelters. Leningrad's resolve was a potent weapon. Citizens, bound by purpose, refused to be broken. Their sacrifices contributed to the larger struggle against tyranny. Section 2. Operation January Thunder. By the winter of 1944, the Red Army was poised for a decisive blow against the German forces besieging Leningrad. Operation January Thunder aimed to shatter the German lines and liberate Leningrad. On January 14, 1944, after a thunderous artillery barrage, Soviet forces surged forward. The initial assault caught the Germans off guard. The Red Army, now well-equipped, pushed the Germans back. The end of the siege was finally within reach. On January 27, 1944, After 872 days, the siege of Leningrad was broken. Soviet forces linked up with the Leningrad front, liberating the city and driving the German army group north into retreat. People poured into the streets, their faces etched with joy and disbelief. Amidst the destruction, there was a palpable sense of relief and gratitude for being alive. The siege of Leningrad is a story of extraordinary courage, resilience, and the enduring power of the human spirit. The guns fell silent, the siege was lifted, and Leningrad, bearing the wounds of a harrowing ordeal, began its long and arduous journey toward recovery. The city, once teetering on the brink of annihilation, slowly stirred back to life, its spirit, though battered, unbroken. The citizens of Leningrad, having endured unimaginable hardship and loss, emerged from the shadow of the blockade with a mix of relief, grief, and a steely determination to rebuild their lives and their beloved city. The task ahead was daunting. The city lay in ruins, its infrastructure shattered, its once grand buildings scarred by bombs and neglect. Food remained scarce and the echoes of hunger lingered in the hollow cheeks and haunted eyes of its people. The war, though no longer directly threatening Leningrad, continued to rage on, draining resources and manpower from the rebuilding effort. Yet the spirit of Leningrad, forged in the crucible of suffering, refused to be extinguished. Like resilient wildflowers pushing through the cracks in a bombed-out pavement, life returned to Leningrad. Families, torn apart by evacuation and death, reunited amidst the ruins, their embraces a testament to the enduring power of human connection. Factories, silent during the long months of the siege, roared back to life, their workers, many of them women who had shouldered the burden of production during the darkest hours, turning their hands from making weapons to manufacturing goods for peacetime. The city's cultural institutions, beacons of hope during the siege, played a vital role in the healing process. The Hermitage Museum, its treasures safely returned from their wartime exile, reopened its doors, offering a glimpse of beauty and continuity in a world forever changed. Theaters, their stages repaired, once again hosted plays, ballets and concerts, the music and laughter a balm for wounded souls. The physical scars of the siege, though slow to heal, were gradually erased by time and the tireless efforts of Leningrad's citizens. Buildings were restored, streets were repaved, and monuments, silent witnesses to the city's ordeal, were painstakingly rebuilt. The scars etched into the hearts and minds of Leningrad's people, however, proved more enduring. The trauma of the siege, the gnawing hunger, the bone-chilling cold, the constant fear of death, left an indelible mark on a generation. Many survivors carried the psychological and emotional wounds of their experience long after the last shots were fired. The memories of lost loved ones, of unimaginable suffering, continued to haunt their dreams and shape their waking lives. The siege had a profound impact on Leningrad's demographics. Hundreds of thousands, perhaps as many as 1 million, perished from starvation, disease, and enemy action. The city's population, once a vibrant tapestry of ages and backgrounds, was left depleted, the balance irrevocably skewed toward the elderly and the very young. The generation that came of age during the siege, known as the blockade generation, bore the weight of their experience, their lives forever shaped by the ordeal they had endured. The siege also cast a long shadow on Leningrad's relationship with the Soviet government. While officially hailed as a heroic city, and its citizens lauded for their resilience, Leningraders also harbored a deep-seated resentment toward the authorities. The government's initial unpreparedness for the siege, the slow and inadequate response to the city's plight, the brutal efficiency of the NKVD in suppressing dissent, all contributed to a sense of disillusionment and distrust. The Siege of Leningrad, a testament to the depths of human suffering and the heights of human endurance, stands as a stark reminder of the horrors of war and the enduring power of the human spirit. It is a story of unimaginable hardship, of loss and grief, but also of courage, resilience, and the unwavering will to survive. The citizens of Leningrad, faced with an existential threat, did not simply endure. They resisted. They fought back against the invaders, endured unimaginable deprivation, and clung fiercely to their humanity amidst the ruins. They organized communal kitchens, sharing the little food they had. They risked their lives to keep the city's cultural institutions alive, finding solace and inspiration in music, art, and literature. They never surrendered, their spirit unbroken, their determination unyielding. The legacy of the siege extends far beyond the boundaries of Leningrad, now St. Petersburg. It is a story that resonates with anyone who has faced adversity, who has known hunger or loss, who has witnessed the horrors of war or oppression. It is a reminder that even in the darkest of times, hope, love, and compassion can prevail. The Siege of Leningrad is a story that needs to be told, remembered, and honored. It is a story that challenges us to confront the horrors of war, to celebrate the resilience of the human spirit, and to strive for a world where such suffering is never repeated. It is a story that reminds us that even in the face of unimaginable darkness, the human spirit, like a flickering candle in a bombed-out city, refuses to be extinguished.